evening on my side. It's 7 past 7 in the evening. Good morning or good day, wherever you are. Welcome to the Black Blockchain Summit. And today we are looking at blockchain behind bars, the future of political prisoners. We are going to be having a discussion. We're going to be having a relaxed chat, like we are sitting behind a coffee table and, just having a day-to-day conversation. Yes, I would love for my guests to introduce themselves, and then we can take it from there. Like I said, my name is Ala. I am in Botswana, based in Gaborone, and thank you very much for joining us. You can from there.
I'm Lynn Ulbricht, and I'm the mother of Ross Ulbricht, who was the defendant in the Silk Road case. And Silk Road was a website that Ross created when he was 26 years old that only used Bitcoin as the means of exchange. So you couldn't use any other, you couldn't use dollars, you couldn't use anything else but Bitcoin. In any case, it was meant to be a free open market that was based on the non-aggression principle of voluntary interaction. He was libertarian. He believed that, as long as two people wanted to change something, they should be able to do that without the government being involved. And as long as it was voluntary and it didn't hurt a third party. So for example, there was no child pornography permitted because the child was the third party and they were harmed. There were no weapons. There were no violent services, different things that, if you exchange it, it could hurt somebody else. That was not permitted. But exchange of drugs, mainly small amounts of marijuana, was permitted. And Ross created the site, was involved in running it. And because of that, he was given, and it was a shocking sentence, 2 life sentences plus 40 years without parole. No violence was involved in his convictions, no violence. And, it was just a shocking, he was a first-time offender. And this website introduced Bitcoin into the mainstream. And he saw the potential of Bitcoin for financial freedom for people all around the world, and really was passionate about it and wanted to introduce it. And for that, he's given a sentence of death, dying in prison, unless he is commuted by the president. And I've been working very hard for years to get that commutation. So, and also speaking out about the injustices I've learned about since his arrest in the criminal justice system in general. So that's why I'm here. Sinclair was, I've spoken at the conference. This is my 4th time, I think. And, really appreciate all the work that's being done with the Black Blockchain Summit. So that's my story.
All right, thank you, Ms. Lynn. I'm Justin Redrick, the author of From Bars to Bitcoin. I go by Bitcoin Vegan on Twitter, and I'm known for learning about Bitcoin coming home from prison, using it as a rehabilitation tool for finance, life, and freedom. I'm glad to be here. I think this is my 3rd time here. I look forward to the panel, and let's get into the discussion y'all have for us today.
Okay, thank you so much. It's quite I'll say it's very emotional to get to learn, and also to get to know about how sometimes the justice system works. And we're here to look at how playing a role, or blockchain playing a role in the future of political prisoners. Case. It's one of those cases that we've been following some time, and we know what has been happening, and we know how long he has been sentenced in prison. So maybe my biggest question would be, do we foresee that as a how do I say it? Was it a way of the government to silence the Bitcoiners, or what do we get from such sentences, especially cases where there was no violence that was, done. Ross did not carry any violence. He did not do any child pornography and all that. So what do we get from that? What can we pick from that, or what can we learn from that?
Well, I personally, and this is what I personally think, at first I thought, okay, it's drug charges, I understand that, but then the biggest drug seller on the site, he's out. He got out after 7 years. So it made it quite apparent, and he's actually sold a lot of drugs on the site. Ross was never accused of actually selling drugs. He was accused of creating the site and the platform and everything. I do think personally that it had to do with Bitcoin. It was very new. Kind of an upstart currency that nobody knew really about much, except a few, geeks who knew about these technical things. And I do think that there was a very strong message that the government wanted to send about using alternate currencies. And it was kind of confusing at the time because FinCEN, which is the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, they didn't even say that Bitcoin was money. They were like, well, it's a commodity. It was very confusing. And one of Ross's charges was money laundering because other people, not him, changed Bitcoin for dollars, and vice versa. And, but now, it's evolved, and it's much more regulated, of course. But at the time, it was almost like the Wild West. And I think that is why Ross was so harshly treated. He's kind of become a symbol of Bitcoin, and of many people in the Bitcoin world consider him a pioneer and a visionary because he saw the potential very early. And yeah, I just want people to know we have a petition that you don't have to be an American to sign. It's on our website, freeross.org, and it's saying this sentence is wrong and asking the president to correct it. Please sign it. And yeah, and any connections to, because we really want to get word to the administration that this really needs their attention. This is wrong. And it also sets a precedent for other people, because I've gotten very involved in the whole idea of the sentences are so horrible, not just in the Bitcoin world, but in the prison system, that are so beyond what used to be in our country. They've gotten extreme. And I've actually started a group called Mothers Against Cruel Sentencing to try to pressure, and educate people about these sentences, because as I'm sure Justin is aware, these sentences here are terrible and really un-American. So, but yeah, I think that initially, certainly the Bitcoin aspect of Ross's case I think that's why they came down so hard on him.
Okay.
Yeah,
Justin.
I feel it as well, and a lot of times, especially there's a quote unquote new crime or something that looks very new in the eyes of the justice system, they always want to try to send a stern message to everyone else involved. And to be quite honest, I think the message was sent. When we even look at people who still think Bitcoin is terrible money, who think Bitcoin is something for nefarious activities. Matter of fact, I remember the very first Black Blockchain Summit. I sat on the panel and a man was saying this. He was like, look at all the stuff that Bitcoin is involved in. And I remember saying, like, well, before Bitcoin, the number one money laundering or currency was cash. It still is, matter of fact. So if you're using cash to buy weed in states that's not legal, that's dark market. But I believe that since it was a new currency then, and they saw him build a platform, it could have been a way just to send a message. And the message was sent and heard by a lot of people. The wrong message, but it was sent out.
They even said that. They said, we want to make an example of him. And that's not really what our justice system is supposed to do. We're supposed to be tried as an individual, and what did I actually do? A first-time nonviolent offender who's never accused of physically hurting anyone, attacking them or being a danger in society. to have him get a death in prison sentence really puts us all in peril. All of us are, that's hurting all of our rights.
So, what do we think the future is looking like today for people like Ross and for any person who will be involved maybe in any what is called a crime in as far as cryptocurrency is concerned? What do we think the future looks like? Are we going to still be able to see people being harshly sentenced just because they're involved in cryptocurrencies or because they're involved in the blockchain tech?
Yeah, I think it's hopeful because Bitcoin, of course, now is very much accepted by big companies and banks, and it's much more mainstream, obviously. I mean, the jury in Ross's trial, most of them hadn't even heard of it. They had no idea what they were talking about. This was back in 2014. And so it made it much more scary and bad, which really hurt Ross in the jury's decision. I think as it becomes more accepted, which it is, even the government wants to have their own digital currency now. I think that image is less, damaging. And I think that also as the cryptocurrency world and community becomes more influential because they are more wealthy, I think things will change for people who are serving prison time for cryptocurrency. And there are, mostly what I've been researching is people who are facing trial. There's a group in New Hampshire, for example, or have done prison time. It's usually because they're an unlicensed money exchange where they're not registered with the government to be able to do it. And I guess, we can all have our opinion about whether if you want to give me $100 and I'll give you $100 worth of Bitcoin if I need to be a registered licensed person, but to do that, but I think as it stands now, it's a federal crime. So
Okay.
that's the main one that I've seen and know about.
I kind of lean on the fence of is for sometimes it might depend upon who's calling the shots. Because as a money, I think Bitcoin has become, as the idea of it is becoming widely accepted. I also have a strange feeling that folks or government officials will see some players in Bitcoin as, being a bit more dangerous because they do have money that can't be controlled, or that we're so early to something that's so magnificent. And what I mean by magnificent is powerful. The fact that money, borderless money, decentralized money, that can really fund people to do most of whatever they want without too much interference at all. It could provide less sentencing or harsher sentencing depending upon who's involved, like depending upon who's the jury, depending upon the prosecutor, the DA, all this type of stuff, in their opinion, because they might feel, oh man, Bitcoin is terrible. But if you have someone who's secretly loving their Bitcoin experience, but they work in public office, then you have someone say, man, it's not that bad. Let's just lighten up. So I hope it gets better. It should. However, the people, they don't stop giving out harsh sentences for much of anything sometimes. And like Lynn said, it gets worse, just like inflation, which might be something to look at. So I want to be on the fence of it gets lighter, but I also understand that everyone is going to come with their own opinion once it gets to sentencing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Justin, I learned you had been in jail before, and you wrote a book crediting Bitcoin as one of the things that changed your life. Can you highlight a little bit on how that was possible, so that maybe somebody who is behind bars can also learn one or two things from you?
Yeah. So the very first thing that Bitcoin changed my life with was the fact of a second chance. Just even though coming home from prison was a second chance, but Bitcoin offered another second chance, whether that was to be a tech entrepreneur, whether that was to have a skill that was going to be globally needed, whether that was um, whether that was also just opportunity, like opportunity to speak at a conference, speak at this conference, opportunity to travel around the country, meet people I would have never probably met without Bitcoin. Those type of people might be hedge fund managers, Fortune 500 CEOs, anybody, even Ms. Lynn. Bitcoin has provided that type of opportunity. So then
Yeah.
you get to a level of just sovereign power. If you've been behind bars, then you understand what decentralized money is with like stamps, cigarettes, canteen options. So to have that in the real world and to be in an environment where your work is going to stand more than who you are is always an opportunity there. But it just shaped my mind differently. It helped me look at life differently, business, money especially. And within money, you learn how flawed not just the system is, but when it comes down to money, if people are saying, you know, you got to follow the money to see what's real, you start getting underneath what goes on in the world, not just a country of America, but globally. That Bitcoin does provide that relief. To make it short, you know, opportunity wealth, an opportunity for business, be part of a powerful network that can change the world is was what really changed life in Bitcoin.
That's so great to hear that, because I know there's so many people get out of prison and they have no opportunity. They can't rent a place. They're not hired. And often Ross has told me, people who went back to dealing drugs or whatever it was, because that's all they knew, and they had to survive. And so to hear that about Bitcoin, of course, you must be a pretty smart guy to learn about Bitcoin on your own like that. I can't imagine doing it myself, actually. I'm not the best, but no, it's really a neat, I never thought of that angle. And actually, Ross had an NFT, he didn't, we did, but it was based on his art, and sold it. And we dedicated a large portion of it to different charities. And one of them is helping prisoners readapt. It's a charity that's already set up to help prisoners readapt the world, when they come out. And I hadn't really ever thought about the fact that Bitcoin could be helpful that way. That's really
Yeah.
neat.
Yeah, that's yeah.
That's one of the benefits I've looked to explore over the years, is creating a Bitcoin from bars to Bitcoin prison reform program. Just to provide those type of skills, coming home from prison, you come with zero skills. You come out, well, not everybody, some people came home with great credit, but you come out with a lot of members come out with nothing going on. You either gotta go live with family members. I know some people who've been in prison so long that their family died.
Yeah.
So you need skills that's going to be able to provide you opportunity and give you a chance to keep up in the real world. I mean, everybody coming home from prison can't drive trucks. Not going to be enough people on the road, and trucks are going to be self-driving anyway. All the skills that you want that was mainly needed for guys coming home, they're going to be automated. So you got to be able to provide a different opportunity, because now you're just going to have another 600,000 people come home from prison every year, and it's going to get worse because jobs are just gone. They've been disrupted, like Bitcoin disrupts things. So that's definitely an opportunity that can provide just, again, skills to help pay the bills or grow from where you need to grow.
Is your that Bars to Bitcoin is doing, is setting up training and that kind of thing for people, or can you say a little?
That's a goal of mine. I have more work to put into play with it, but yeah, I've had conversations on it, and the book From Bars to Bitcoin is going to be titled the same as the program.
Okay.
But yeah, I need curriculums developed and things of that nature, so I could possibly get funding on it. But it's definitely a lane for me to explore.
Let's stay in touch about that, okay?
Yes, ma'am, Ms. Lynn, I got you.
All right, good.
I got you.
Wow. Thank you so much. I mean, I'm seeing like a lot of possibilities and a lot of potential that Bitcoin can give even to people behind bars. Like Justin is saying, we can have those communities that are focused on, rehabilitating prisoners and, giving them an opportunity to become part of the community. So, because one of the things that happens when somebody is coming from prison, there will always be this kind of discrimination, this kind of feeling out of the community and out of touch with the community. So Bitcoin, I always say, it's a currency of love. It's accepting of everyone, does not discriminate, does not know race, does not know any, does not know any stories. Bitcoin, all it does know is love. So I do believe with Bitcoin and blockchain technology, we're gonna see a lot of prison and a lot of people in bars if we can be able to programs that we know we're gonna take to prisons, and we can be able to help the people who are incarcerated behind bars. So we still have to see how the government can begin to look at Bitcoin differently. Like Justin was saying, Bitcoin is not the number one cryptocurrency that is being used for money laundering. Cash still is, but still people look at Bitcoin as the number one currency where it is used for criminals and all that. Until such time that we look at Bitcoin differently and we look at it as a tool for empowerment, then we still have a long way to go. And we still have to find ways in which people can understand the cryptocurrency so that people like Ross can be given the justice that they deserve. So just to summarize what we've discussed, I would like you to just summarize what we've just discussed. So if you've got something that you want to share with the listeners, can you do that in this next coming 5 minutes?
Yeah, I'm kind of excited about this conversation. I think it's really, really great because I hadn't thought about the connection of Bitcoin with helping prisoners with, avoid recidivism, avoid being this horrible cycle of having to go get back in prison. And and maybe even like you were saying, programs in the prison, which would be amazing if that could happen. But yeah, hey,
It's a work. Go ahead, my bad.
Oh no, I think it's really it also Ross wrote about this. Actually, a lot of his writings are on our website and on medium.com. And one of the things he wrote about was how Bitcoin is an equalizer. And that's one of the things I loved about it. It's like, for instance, I met so many people from Africa when I went to the conference in Washington and spoke there. And actually Ross got an award there, which was really exciting. But anyway, where a lot of people are unbanked. They don't have a bank account. They can't get a bank account. And that may be true of people who are just out of prison as well. I don't know about that, but Bitcoin is an alternative if you can't have a bank account, right? And so it's not just people in prison. It's people who need a break, who need a financial break all over the world. So that's what's Ross and I have, picked up on what he has said too, is that Bitcoin is freedom. Bitcoin, that's the real exciting part to me. I know a lot of people have made millions of dollars and all that, and that's fine, whatever, it's great. But it's really about freedom and giving people all over the world opportunity. And and the idea of doing that with people who come out of prison and they're, it's a rough and life's hard enough, right? And just because you came out of prison, I'm excited about somehow, using Bitcoin for this. I think it's great.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
I'm gonna share a quick story. And yes, Ms. Lynn, it is rough, when everybody was running to El Salvador to do whatever, we still have things in our own country. And coming home from prison, you're definitely unbanked. You're looked at crazy, for whatever your crime is. But it was in the Black Bitcoin Billionaires group. We used to have a room. I used to host a room called From Bars to Bitcoin. And there was a guy in there by the name of Todd Coley. He had done like 30 years from like 18 years old. He'd done 30 years since he was 18. And I was sharing him about Bitcoin. And I asked him a question because more times than not in the Black community, we go to jail over money. And when you don't have money, when you don't have ways to take care of yourself, you go insane. You do desperate stuff, and majority of the crimes that come from my community deal with money, and sometimes they are violent. Like I said, folks, when you don't have the resources and you don't think you have the resources, you respond that way. But I said to him, I said, well, financial literacy in our neighborhood, if we don't have financial literacy, you'll have people continuously go to jail for money that that loses value while you sit in prison. So he went to prison, I want to say in the late 80s, early 90s. The dollar might have been worth 95 cents. He comes out, the dollar is worth 80 some cents. So you went to jail over a crime that dealt with money, but the money you went to jail for lost its value while you sat in prison. So Bitcoin does provide that different type of financial outlook, and it can be used for all over the world.
Yeah. Thank you so much. This has been quite an interesting conversation, and definitely I do believe you guys will take it out of the from here. You will, outside the internet, you can meet, and then we can see how we can, start doing what Justin was saying. Finding ways to rehabilitate the prisoners and also giving them that education that they need to get the freedom that Leanne is talking about. Thank you so much, people, and I guess we will meet some other time. Have a wonderful time and have a wonderful day. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. So good to meet both of you. And yeah, this is exciting. I look forward to reconnecting and making something happen. But thanks so much.